Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast presented by Excellency Esports. I'm the League Dad, and as always, joined by my buddies, Kevin, Mitchell, Alistair, and MSI 2021 is in the books. RNG are your champions. Sorry if you just got spoiled right now. You should have watched it anyways. But it was a good series. Kind of what we expected. But there was a lot of kind of drama moments, interesting moments along the way, so we can discuss all of that. But real quickly, guys, just first thoughts, first reactions on what you thought of the finals.
Finals was honestly really hype. I'm glad it actually ended up going to that 5-game series.
Yeah, me too.
The back and forth, just like the sheer amount of craziness, like, as you know, people might want to say terrible drafts, but like whatever, they executed on what those terrible draft win cons were. I thought it was just really exciting to like get such fresh views of, especially Danwon. I was not expecting that early game draft from Danwon to go so well for them, so that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. I think they mentioned on brackets this is the first game 5 since like 2016 or 2015. No, maybe since the EDG SKT in 2015 actually.
Yeah,
and
a long time.
It was super hype. I would like to say, like, honestly, I'm kind of sick of the whole talk about draft. Like, I think that there are just teams on a level where they know their players' comfort as well as how they play together well enough to like just like screw the draft. It's like RNG proved like definitively, and I say this knowing that in my mind AP Gragas top is garbage, hot garbage. But they made it look good.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is what we've always been saying, but I guess like in action, like play your style means like sometimes just don't draft the meta, just draft whatever you think makes the most sense for your players.
Yeah.
And RNG proved it can beat even Damwon, who is probably definitively the world's best team until that moment, until this tournament. So it's a crazy tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely really fun to watch. I mean, I also agree. I think the draft this, draft that, draft that. I don't like it because I think a bad draft is something your team can't play. And teams clearly showed, even if the 5 champions didn't work perfectly together, the team still played it well.
Yeah.
Which is enough to see, like, they're really good. And while, let's be honest, the entire tournament was kind of predictable, we've been saying it since day one, it was still entertaining, which is what's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Especially on a finals, like, you know, we got spoiled with the C9 Team Liquid, you know, LCS finals, that going to 5 games. And, you know, even because this weekend was both semifinals and finals, and we got to see, you know, some pretty good series. But yeah, to have the finals end in 5 games was just amazing, especially because I was really worried about Damwon. I mean, like, they came in first during the Rumble stage, but the 2 losses that they had were both to RNG. So that kind of made me worried. And even in our predictions, which we'll get to in a little bit, but even in our predictions, most of us were kind of going in here thinking that Damwon was going to be in trouble. And it ended up closer than what we thought. And that's really all we can ask for. A good series, good play. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the MVP, which was Gala. I mean, this was... Kevin, you were the only one that predicted Gala to be MVP. Honestly, it's not that big of a surprise because, I mean, Xiahu is really good. Ming is really good, obviously, but Gala has just been performing like crazy. Played Kai'Sa all 5 games. Talk a little bit about, you know, Gala and just what you thought about him this entire tournament.
Yeah, I thought that it was kind of funny that he actually was able to get Kai'Sa all 5 games.
I know, right? What?
I always thought there was going to be a takeaway or there was maybe going to be a ban. I mean, obviously they just kept taking it in first rotation, right? So it's like you either have to ban it or take it away, or they're just going to keep taking it in any matchup, it felt like. And it was his best champion. It was his best champion in his own region. It was his best champion coming up. I'm sure, like, if they put him on something different, there could have been a very different game, different world. You know, but there was no Varus for him. There was no nothing. It was just Kai'Sa all 5 games. So I thought that was really interesting. Obviously, he played really, really well, and I do always question the metrics with which the player of the series is picked,
Yeah,
and I want to know why people pick those or what the criteria is, because I do think he had amazing numbers. Obviously, he had
of course.
amazing like highlight plays, great team fighting.
Hmm.
But I did feel like so much of what happened in lane was just a Ming difference. Like Ming was
Yeah.
just absolutely support gapping the crap out of Barrel, and
Woof. Yes.
I don't know. I was just like, I thought it was gonna go to Ming. I genuinely thought after watching that series. So
Yeah.
And I agree. If I were only basing off who I thought the best player on the team was, it'd definitely be me.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I was like, I mean, dude, Gala's gonna have some highlight plays. He literally game 5 engaged right in. That was so
yeah,
sick. I was
So
like,
good.
dude, was it game 5? I was one of the game. I was like, dude, that's insane. You can't do that. But Ming was the reason. I mean, the gap between Ming and Barrel was like pretty much like the gap
It's
between
funny.
like NA and
Yeah.
some of the teams at the tournament at times.
yeah.
Jokes aside, it was the biggest gap of like any like top tier team and their like player matchups.
Hmm.
I thought Gala played great, but at the same time, like Ghost did have some good games. Like not
hmm
unlike their semifinals, Ghost played well.
Yeah.
Like
Ghost
there
played
were
good.
games where like yeah, dude, that was Ghost had like won that game. Like
Hmm.
game 4, that was a Ghost diff. So like I thought they traded blows, which is why I was actually kind of surprised Gala got it. I was like, he did get diffed in some of those games. Like Ming never got diffed. That guy was everywhere. Like he was
Hmm.
ganking mid, getting kills for Cryin. Like Cryin was winning lane against Showmaker. You should get like a medal
A
for that.
medal.
If you
Yeah.
can enable your mid laner to beat Showmaker and your name's Cryin, like that's a dub. So I thought it was a Ming diff, but I voted Gala because I wanted to win the prediction.
Yeah. Pog.
I mean, I agree. Bot lane definitely was a Ming diff, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Gala. He's really good. But at the same time, it's kind of a support's job to win bot lane. That's just kind of how the role is.
Hmm.
And I mean, I was happy to see. I mean, they work really well together. It is a group effort overall, but yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with everything that was said. Really.
I think what's funny is that when we were talking about our predictions and analysis of this team and the series, we were all thinking where was the bigger gap going to be? Was it going to be in the top lane with Xiahu against Khan, or was it going to be in the bot lane because of Ming and Beryl? And obviously to me, I think the bigger gap was between Ming and Beryl because Khan actually had some good games. I'm thinking particularly of the Lee Sin game. He had some smooth mechanics. Really good pick for him. Obviously, he wasn't allowed to play it after that. But yeah, I thought that was really good. Talk about Khan a little bit. What do you guys think? I mean, I know we talked about like, man, if they were going to get beat, we all were expecting Khan's head to be on the chopping block. But honestly, I don't really put this one on him. I think he stepped up pretty good. So, I mean, what do you think about Khan?
Yeah, I thought Khan played surprisingly well considering he's a notorious choker.
Mm-hmm.
He chokes really hard in a lot of big moments, especially internationally. Um, I would say his game 5 was pretty disappointing on the
Yeah.
Aatrox. But it did kind of feel like his whole team fell apart. So, whatever. I mean, his game 2 on Lee Sin was really, really insane. Um, kind of engaging on Lee Sin, which is just always impressive to see.
Yeah.
And then his game 4 on Aatrox was also very impressive. A lot of like escaping 1v2, 1v3 situations,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, just engaging and running into people's Aatrox and living and getting resets and fighting and stuff and landing a bunch of good Qs. So
Yeah.
I thought he played pretty well, all considering. It's just that people are still going to think about the rest of his tournament
Yeah.
and realize that like he would be put on Scion duty and just absolutely be useless. And actually, maybe be the opposite of useless. And, the ADC's life stealing off of Scion is like, what if there wasn't a Scion for the ADC to life steal? I always think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a tank, they forgot to build Bramble. You're just life steal for the enemy ADC or the enemy bruiser.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say he had a pretty good finals, minus maybe game 5. Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody in game 5. Personally, I didn't think anybody in Damn One had a good game for game
Yeah,
5.
true.
So.
Yeah.
That just generally happens when you're getting diffed by the other team.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, Khan, I definitely played him hard last podcast. I think his semis was okay, not that great. The only sin Khan has ever committed on this team for the finals and the semis was that he was a Naguri. I think that if Naguri was here, it's hard to say because RNG literally came out the back of 3-1 Naguri's team, which has Doingby, has Tian, has some pretty godly players himself.
Yeah.
But either way, if Naguri was here, honestly, it would have been very close. Like, it could have been 3-2 the other way. That's how I felt. But Khan played well. His Aatrox game 4 was also pretty impressive. Like, I mean, NA makes Aatrox look completely worthless a lot of the times when we see it locally. We're just like, why'd you pick Aatrox here?
Yeah.
It's just a bad pick. So, impressive play from him. It was definitely not the biggest gap. Xiahu, I still think was the better top laner in my mind.
Oh yeah, I
But
think.
it was not as big of a gap as it was in group stage. So,
Hmm.
good for him. He's finally not choking his heart, but he still has never won anything internationally. So
He's still got
maybe next time.
that. He's still
Yeah,
there.
Next time,
Yeah.
Khan.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a little cursed, honestly, but maybe next time.
Yikes.
I mean, I don't think Khan's that bad. I mean, at least I think he gets a lot of flack he doesn't deserve. I don't know. I think calling him a notorious choker is a little outdated. He's not Blabber. Let's be honest. But uh, I had to throw that out there.
You took my job, man.
But
I know.
he had a good series.
Yeah.
I mean, game 5, a little rough, but
Yeah, I mean, I did like that they did mix it up because I was wondering what they were going to pick. Were they just going to put him on Scion duty or whatever? But the fact that he could still play, well on different champs. I mean, on the Aatrox, on the Lee Sin, I thought that was pretty cool. One thing, bouncing back to RNG is that, we talked about Cryin a little bit, right? He's not even a top mid laner in LPL. We were thinking there was going to be a little bit of a mid diff here in Showmaker's favor. And I was thinking, well, at least, even if his laning isn't well, Cryin will make it up in the mid game with their team fighting. But it ended up being like not so much of a gap. In fact, some of these picks, like having him on the Lucian in the first game, I thought was pretty cool. I was a little excited to see Showmaker on Akali because I thought that was going to pop off. But, credit to Cryin to keep him down. And, I thought he did a really good job, not only in his laning phase, but in his team fighting phase. And he just pumped out a ton of damage. Second to Gala, he had the most DPM in the game. So I props to him and Wei as well. Talk about that mid jungle synergy on RNG for a little bit and what you thought, because Canyon Showmaker was going to be, to me, the win condition for Damwon, and it seemed like RNG neutralized that.
Yeah, yeah, the mid jungle is only so much against the most OP role in the game, support, right? Like,
Yeah.
it felt impossible for Showmaker or even Canyon to do anything when, like, Ming is winning bot lane and he's winning the map for you.
Yeah.
Like, Leona is so broken if you're the better support. And that's what it felt like a lot of the times. Like, he's literally just spam ganking mid lane with Leona,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah.
It's super frustrating to play against too, because it's like, you can't actually have wards all the time up. You can't have your jungler sitting mid all the time up, especially with how non-prio it is to get mid ahead in this meta. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you get behind in mid lane, you're just like, I think it's the right thing to do. Just leave you on the island. Just be like, you're screwed, man. Like, I gotta go help top lane, right?
Yeah.
Or even bot lane, get drags. So I felt kind of bad for Showmaker. He definitely got support diffed. I also think like 5 games of Udyr in a row.
Yeah.
Like, that is you go I saw that, Kevin. You go back
That's how
to
they
when
felt when they were drafting it.
Yeah.
exactly. They're like, we got Udyr again. Hey, like
Hey.
that's what it felt like. When Mad Lions brought it to 5 games, it was Udyr. It was they were just getting wrecked by Udyr over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very powerful champion. He has a new build in the Frostfire Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care about the Chemtech nerfs. And you know what? He's super easy. This is what happens when you have an incredibly easy champion that is broken.
Mm-hmm.
You pick it, you have a much worse jungler. Just say, I don't care that I'm worse than you because my game is just that much easier than yours to play. You have to land skill shots on Morgana or Rumble. I run at you and I click you.
Yeah.
So I was actually fairly disappointed that Damwon didn't decide to prioritize that more. I think that there was a lot of conversation that we can get into, I guess, a bit later, but about the Rumble. Was Rumble good or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Was Morgana good or not? Right? We talked about in this podcast.
Yeah.
Was Morgana actually good? And you have to think like whether they're good or not. How much easier is Udyr though? right? How much easier it is. You're in game 5. You're against the best jungler in the world, against the best player in the world. Just pick
Mm-hmm.
Udyr. They have to land a skill shot. You don't. I Yeah, I think Damon's definitely gonna look back and think, should we have given Udyr Kaisa every single game, regardless if they're good or not? It was just too comfort for them.
Yeah, it's too
So
comfort. Agreed.
I mean, it's two different stories. Like RNG knew exactly what they wanted to play and what they are good at playing. And they just picked it. And they're like, I don't care that we lost last game. It's not because we picked the wrong things. It's just because you guys played it better or we played it worse that game. We'll do better next time. And they just run it back and absolutely run them over. Their drafts, like between game 4 and 5, the only thing they varied was not the AP Gragas. They just sent in Nocturne mid instead of a Rise mid, so for a little bit more prio, and
Yep.
it demolished them. And it was like, meanwhile, if you look at Don Kia's like pick ban, like every game it was like we don't know what we want.
Yeah.
Is Rumble's been left up every game, and then they only picked Rumble at game 5, and they got ran over.
Yeah.
They picked Renekton mid, Syndra mid. Like, Showmaker played a different mid every game, and honestly, only like maybe one or two of them were like effective. Like I would count them as effective. I think the big story of this tournament is like Showmaker and Canyon. Like they just didn't in the finals. They didn't really show up. Like they had game in the winning games. They were there, but honestly, I thought it was a Ghost Stiff game 4. In game 2, like they just played the snowball, right? I honestly think Cannon got not necessarily exposed because I still think he's the world's best, but like Wei is first time international, dude. This guy's like what, like 19 or something?
Yeah,
18?
he's
like,
young.
He doesn't have any excuse. He has tons of excuses for not playing well. He's like, I'll just pick Udyr and I'll do what I need to do. He also had a killer Rumble, which he felt no need to pick, even though it was always up. So like, I think RNG just knew exactly what they wanted to do in their identity, and Koma's team just like overdrafted. They were like, let's pick Xerath and Morgana, and I was like, Lord, like. And technically it won, to be fair, but I was like, if you miss your skill shots, like if you're just a little off, this is a loss. Like I don't know what you're doing. And then they didn't pick it again, even though they won with it. So I was like, I don't know what they were doing. They were trying to be too fancy with it. And like honestly, I think with a little bit more consistency of like this is exactly the good picks. Let's take Udyr for example. Let's take Kaisa or Bandit. If they were just a little less stubborn, they probably could have made it closer or have won, because they were getting kind of stomped in the games they lost.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think Udyr, Kaisa, they're just good.
And like, I mean,
it's like even though I don't know, you play too many champions and you give two players the same champion every game. They're just gonna be warm on that champ.
especially Gala on Kaisa. That's kind of a
Udyr,
given there.
You can first time that champ, whatever.
Everyone's reading the tier list, man. It's
the tier list. You know, let's talk a little bit about that Rumble, right? Because that was kind of a debate, I think, for most of this tournament. Like everyone knows Rumble is OP, but I think maybe not as OP by itself, right? As people thought. Like I do think that Rumble needs like some CC first to lock it down to kind of guarantee your ult. Like, so having a Leona on your team is great, right? But the one time that Damon picked it, they had Varus Tom Kench, right? We talked about that, you know, you pick Varus Tom Kench, but now you don't have any engage. And I think you have a Rumble who doesn't have anything to really stack the ult on, you know, like there's no kind of engage that they could just Rumble ult on. So I already think that that's a mistake, number one. And then, you know, this, if anything, would have been the perfect time to have the Tristana in the game. And so the Varus Tom Kench is good. I don't think it fit in this comp. And like, honestly, Beryl was just, I don't know. He has not played Tom Kench or something in like years, because he was not eating up the right people. I think the first one, he didn't even skill it up. So that's why they lost the skirmish. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I thought Rumble is fine with certain comps, but I felt like they just did everything wrong on that game 5.
Yeah, let's talk really quickly about Beryl in that Tom Kench game 5.
Yeah.
Apparently he just didn't level W all the way until level 4 or something. He didn't level it in level 2 or 3. And, you know, not leveling at level 2 is, I guess, kind of fine, right? You can see a position where you want to go Q then E or something to regen some poke, but, like, not going at level 3 is just actually trolling. You're just griefing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they ended up burning double sums bot lane, and they still died. One of them still died. Ghost died. And if I was Ghost, I'd be like, all right, FF, I'm done.
FF, yeah.
All right, but anyways, with regards to the Rumble, I 100% agree. Like, how ubiquitous is Udyr, right? He's a tank. He runs fast.
Mm-hmm.
He's pseudo engage and he stuns. It's like you don't need anything else. He fits in every single team comp when he's a strong enough champion. Um, and then yeah, Rumble does not. Honestly, neither does Morgana. Rumble and Morgana
Mm-hmm.
do not fit into every single team comp.
Yeah.
They require CC setup. Like you can't land Morgana Qs on pros blind.
Mm-hmm.
You can't land them straight up. You have to have setup. And I think it was really smart for RNG to, you know, pick up the Leona every game
Yeah,
and be
I think
like,
so
you
too.
don't want to pick Nautilus into me because
Mm-mm.
I'm Leona. It's not a great matchup for you. There's only one interaction where you actually come out ahead as Nautilus.
Yep.
And it was Beryl, right? It's like Beryl's having a really bad tournament.
It's
He can't.
Barrel.
They don't want to play engage, I guess. They don't want
Yeah.
to play Varus Nautilus or take the Leona, play Varus Leona. Like
Mm-hmm.
their team was scared. They were scared and they didn't pick it and they ended up picking Rumble anyways. It's like I don't know, man. Maybe we should have just picked Kindred or something, right?
Yeah.
Like why didn't we see Kindred at all this tournament? Just like
Kendrick get bodied by Udyr.
I mean, not really though. It's not like you get out farmed and he definitely runs at you, but like you're not gonna do it like you're gonna do something at least, right? You have a it makes sense to play it alongside
Yeah.
a Tom Kench more.
Yeah, sure.
But
Yep.
yeah, it's hard, right? Udyr is just such a broken champion. You actually can put almost any champion in this scenario and be like, oh, that doesn't sound very good, right? Because it's Udyr. I don't think Morgana even sounds that good in this comp either. So
Yeah, I agree.
definitely better than Rumble though. But yeah, that's my take on Rumble for sure. Is like you it's the people were just picking it because they thought it was strong enough to just pick, but it's not ubiquitous enough. It doesn't have like that
Yeah.
really simple just click and stun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting because while I agree on your Udyr take, I think the community perception after some Udyr losses in group stage, where like Udyr doesn't do anything after a certain point, he just comes up and slaps you, and like it's so predictable, so he's bad. And RNG's really was like, I mean, he fits what we need. He had great pressure throughout there. Like he won a lot of early games, and like the Morgana was like, yeah, I'm power farming, and Udyr like, yeah, and I'm slapping the crap. Out of you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's a win-win for me.
Mhm.
I think that Wei was the better jungler this series, even though he's not the better player. Maybe he will be someday, but like I just don't see a world where he's the better player based off like he said after the interviews like I think Canyon is perfect and like I still learn from him, and like you don't say that lightly after you win. Like that's
Yeah.
like you're trying to big yourself up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that in this series, Ghost was fine, but if we talk about it later a bit more, if we don't, I just want to get it in. Ghost absolutely inted his head off in the Mad Lions series. I have never seen someone so terrible on a world caliber team, like other than Beryl. Just like literally, he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna ult in as Kai'Sa and then die." I actually think the Mad Lions series is what convinced them that Kai'Sa was garbage,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so that's why they didn't prioritize it all. They're like, RNG is like so bad. There's no way this is gonna work. And then like every time Kai'Sa was like, it won't work next time. I mean, to be fair, they went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, but I think RNG looked holistically like the better team, even though it was 3-2.
Yeah.
I agree. And the other thing I want to say, going back to Rumble, is it's still the difference between solo queue and competitive, right? In solo queue, you're just gonna get you're not gonna have perfect vision, and then Rumble's gonna just every 30 seconds drop an ultimate on your
Yep.
backline, do half their health, and then you lose the objective.
Mm-hmm.
In competitive, there's a lot more counterplay
Yeah.
because you know where he's gonna be most of the time because you have better vision, and it's a big difference that it's like same thing why we didn't see Diana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diana just has more counterplay in competitive because people have better vision, better communication, and all this. And again, like, and on Udyr, people always say, "Oh, he's useless late game. All he does is like bear slap and run away." That's all he needs to do.
Yeah. That's true.
And if you're hitting Udyr, who are you not hitting?
Not hitting. Yeah.
That's what people forget.
It's kind of like
Anyways,
the
that's what I have to say.
singed, the part singed there.
He's doing nothing. He's just running around and annoying you.
Running
It's like,
around.
well,
He's
it's
no,
okay.
he's making our AD carry hit him. Oh no, our AD carry
Yeah.
is not hitting the people who needs to be hit.
Well,
Well,
also he builds full tank and he still kills you with Phoenix stance.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's
Like,
pretty
that's
dumb.
pretty
Can't leave
stupid.
Udyr alone
So
in the
dumb.
backline because he will 1v1 your AD carry.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
will. He'll eventually just kill your ADC with full tank items.
Yeah.
What a champ. I mean,
Yeah.
I could personally attest to the Rumble and solo queue melting my face off just out of nowhere. So I definitely get that, but you're right. In competitive, there is a lot more visions, a lot more communication, obviously, and setup. So I do think that it's a little bit harder to pull off unless you have the comp to do it. And I think that's kind of pretty much what we've been saying here. Any last things on RNG or Damwon before we kind of talk about some of the other? Because we did have semifinals as well, so we can touch on those two teams that weren't in the finals. But any last thoughts on this finals?
I think it's so funny how RNG is actually they've won MSI twice. I think they'll
That is
like
funny.
they're the only team to win MSI twice, right? Was it SKT also?
Yeah,
I think
SK. No. Oh wait, no, did they?
He won once, and then they lost to G2, and they lost
That's
to
right.
EG.
okay. So yeah, RNG has won twice now. They're the
Right.
only team to do that, and I think that's really interesting in a world where Danwon took them to 5 games and they were just up until recently the best team in the world.
Mhm.
I don't know. Props to them. That's really cool. You know, if RNG can get to Worlds and not drop out in quarters to a cracked out G2, it'd be really hyped to see them make the distance. You know, we've never seen a Grand Slam. This team looks pretty good. Who knows? That'd be cool.
There's a lot of good
There's
teams
still
though.
3 other
There's
Chinese
a lot of
teams.
good teams in
Oh,
There's
yeah.
actually,
too many
one
other
thing that
Chinese
should be
teams that
mentioned.
could have just won this playoffs and
Yeah.
maybe won this MSI. That's the absurd part.
Swap
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
My takeaway is I don't think RNG will win the Grand Slam. I want them to win the Grand Slam. I like RNG historically. Just okay, they did some stuff with Uzi, but besides that, historically, I like RNG as an org. They're usually very good internationally. Like they
Mhm.
don't choke as much, and they actually are typically exciting. Besides that one G232 at Worlds.
I mean, they're exciting for a different reason.
Yeah.
Which is still exciting. They bring good games
Yeah,
for the
sure.
most
Yeah.
part, except for the one time they got 3-0 by SKT in season 3,
Mhm.
4. Season three. Anyways, the other thing I want to take away is like I think we were right. We started like 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago. We're just like, yeah, Korea's not that strong besides Dawnwon.
Mhm.
I am very convinced on that now. Like,
Yes.
Ghost and Barrel were not exposed like this by pretty much any team in Korea except for like an occasional SKT game or an occasional like Genji game. I watched Mad Lions expose them, and I don't necessarily think Kaiser Karzi is like the best bot lane in even EU.
Mhm.
I think there are a lot of better bot lanes, or at least a few other better bot lanes. So I think Korea's in trouble. They got 4 seeds this time, but they're gonna send like at least maybe 1 or 2 seeds are gonna get exposed again at Worlds, and they're gonna look. Unless they get their stuff together, maybe the meta will become a boring Korea like.
That's true. A
style
lot of
style
time
meta.
from now until Worlds. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, Daimon should be above that meta because again, they still are very good. They're very aggressive. They still could break it to RNG, but like RNG just brought it more times.
Mhm.
Like RNG is 5-2 across the tournament. Like that's the takeaway.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good stat line when you go against each other 7 times.
Oh yeah.
Win. What is it like? 70%
I
of the
just
time.
wanted to say that we didn't mention this earlier, but because RNG won, LPL gets 4 seeds now.
That's
so
right. Yep.
Korea and
Oh
China.
yeah,
both
sorry.
get 4.
LPL gets 4 seeds.
It's gonna be a doozy of the Worlds.
Winner of MSI gets an extra seed.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep. But Korea got 4 seeds basically because after getting second place now, historically they are good enough to be considered this. They got first, they got Worlds, and then they got second here. So their
Does
recent
EU
history
still
is
get
about
4 seeds?
No.
Or they
There's
lost
only
it,
two.
right?
they
Okay.
lost
So
it.
there's
Yeah.
only
EU
2
lost
people
it.
at 4 seeds.
If
Okay.
EU made finals, I think they would have been close because EU had a lot of reps in Worlds last year, but they just didn't make finals
Mhm.
or
Okay.
win for that matter.
Thank God. All right, sweet. We're not that behind EU, right?
Yay! Fight for the
wait,
worst.
Before we move on, again, C9 did beat RNG. C9 has a better win against RNG than Dawnwon by far.
Yeah.
Percentage-wise, yeah.
Yeah. Percentage
Percentage
wise.
wise, 1-1, it's good, dude. I mean,
Hey man.
We'll just ignore the sample size.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ignore the
we'll
sample
also ignore
size.
the fact that RNG was already guaranteed to
Yeah, that's
we'll
true. It
just
didn't
ignore
even
that.
matter.
I'm just saying, NA still is taking games off of the top teams. Okay, that is good.
When it doesn't
Regardless of
matter.
what-
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but so is PSG.
And we also lose games that we should definitely not lose. So there's
Yeah.
This is
to
also
counterbalance
true. I'm just
that.
Until
trying
we
my
stop
best,
getting
guys.
9-minute sleeps in
Spring
group
split starts,
stage.
or summer split starts next week. I just want to have hope.
You know what? I will say that I got spoiled by watching this finals because of such good play. I mean, even in the semifinals between RNG and PSG, I thought that was really good. So I'm a little bit worried that, because I don't watch a lot of international play. So when I come back to LCS, am I going to just be like cringing the whole time? Like I'm really worried, like to find out what I'm going to see.
I
But
already do.
yeah,
I
so
already
think
do.
that when you watch March Madness, do you cringe or do you just like you're enjoying the spectacle?
that's
We're basically
true.
like collegiate, and then that's NBA. You know, we
It's
can take
just
a game.
I got spoiled because I watch. I think I am gonna make more of an effort to watch LPL this split just because man, that is some good League of Legends watching. Like I'm like, man, this is like how the game should be played. It's really awesome. One more thing I wanted to mention too, just a shout out to Xiahu for I believe he's won now international tournaments in 2 different roles. I think he's the only player to do that. So, even more credit to that team and to Xiahu personally. But let's talk about PSG a little bit because we predicted pretty much the same thing. We thought it was going to be a 3-1, but we knew it was going to be close, and it was close. Game 4, like it could have easily been a game 5. But PSG, man, they are so good. I'm kind of sad that they got out because they definitely played well. But talk a little bit about PSG, your thoughts on them and moving forward and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'll just start it off with Doggo. That's how you malfight ulti. Am I right,
Yeah,
guys? Yeah, that's how you malfight
that's how you
ulti.
do it.
And Tristana really showing tactical what's up. I mean, that team was just nuts. Like,
Yeah.
I actually thought it was going to game 5, and I thought I was going to be the only one to predict the 5-game series from them.
Yeah.
And I was about to be super hyped, and they lost. And I was
It was
really sad.
close. Yeah.
It was close, but I think we all recognize that PSG was definitely not going to roll over, right? It wasn't it was by no means a 3-0 or anything like that either. Um, I'm just really impressed that, especially because they have a lot of players on their team that, like, Hanabi, River, and Maple, I believe, and even Kaiwing to an extent, have actually had a decent amount of experience in showing. It's just like, do they ever get a chance to really show it, right? They always have these, like last year, they had these sub issues and they had COVID. Years before, they were dealing with, like, just the overall explosion of Flash Wolves and everything. And it's like, now they finally are, like, kind of coming together in, like, a real team. And, Doggo is, like, brand new, I'm pretty sure, to the roster, right? He's like a mini Gala, and it was really hyped to see. It was really hyped to see.
Yeah.
I think that for PSG, like they did a really good job showing up for the region. Like they honestly could have probably did it if they were on the other side of the bracket. They could have brought it to Damonte, and then it would have been
Oh yeah, that's
dangerously
true.
close.
Mm-hmm.
I think that RNG just had their number in the sense that like PSG has some of the greatest early games out there, and at least at this tournament that we know of. The only thing is the RNG is like, yeah, I mean, we see random stuff like this all the time at home, and like they did lose to it and they got pressured by it, but their tenacity through is probably just a result of like they just got molded in this kind of gameplay all the time, and they're like one of the less aggressive teams that can handle it. I mean, how many times do you see RNG just like, yeah, they're down like 3K, I don't really care. Like it's fine. They're most likely gonna do something, and if they don't, then they still like come back. They're not tilt the next game. It really reminds me. I think I saw this in the community too. Like it's old SKT style, like a little less slow, but like they know how to bring back games from like when they have no business bringing back games. There were like fights around, so many fights around Baron where I'm like, are they telling the other team to int here? Like what? Why are 5 Dom1 players in a corner? Or like why is PSG taking this fight right now? So I really credit to PSG. I think they deserve to have a game against the other 2 teams on the other side of the bracket just to show up and like maybe make a finals for once. Poor Maple, he's never made it best. He's never won a best of 5.
I know.
I
feel sorry for
I think
him.
he deserved it this time around. It's just they got the hardest opponent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Doggo Coin's going to the moon. I mean,
Yeah.
it was really impressive to see him, and at the same time, as much praise as he deserves, I still want to see unified. I still want to see him play on the full strength team that they've been playing with together for a while, because apparently Unified was clapping Doggo regionally.
Wow, really?
So
Yep.
Really?
maybe not clapping, but at the same time, it also could have just been a Kaiwing diff.
Mm-hmm.
At the same,
Okay.
so that's. But I mean, I think it's safe to say these players aren't going to be on PSG very long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they're
They're
getting
probably going to
Yeah.
LPL or NA.
Probably getting cha-ching, cha-ching.
I'm
Hello,
thinking
Steve.
NA is in the works for somebody. Maybe
I
maybe.
can see Doggo like cashing out for
And of course,
for an
NA's gonna
LPL deal.
buy it, right? Because he had a good showing here, and then he's gonna come here, and it's just gonna be
Yeah, he's gonna
flop,
pop off for a couple regional
flopperoni.
games. He's gonna get to international, and he's
And
just gonna
chill.
flip out. Yeah,
We're gonna be like,
Just flip
yeah,
out.
we're setting up for international
We did
success.
it again, guys.
I
Hey.
will I will say one thing about that bringing over and sending like them being bad. It's kind of like how if you maintain D4 since season 2 till now, that doesn't mean you got worse. You are improving. It's just the field's also improving
Yeah,
alongside you. So honestly, the fact that NA, other than the 0-6 and also losing the PGG, which is actually honestly par for the course, NA is not necessarily getting worse. I think that these imports are objectively improving the region in terms of at least gameplay. Like Core JJ literally leveled up all the supports in the region, and he literally has to put out videos teaching us how to play the dang
There's
bot
no Vulcan.
lane.
There's no core JJ. Period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no Vulcan. Yeah. Wait, you mean there's no Core JJ? There's no Vulcan.
no, he's saying,
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah,
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
we're still able to keep pace as we are third or fourth, or fourth or fifth. So like we're still able to keep pace where we were at before. But like if I'm afraid the answer will be to import more, and instead of learning from these imports and actually improving the teams. Because I do think there's a inflection point where it's like, I mean, you're not really NA anymore if you just import 100%, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can definitely have a lot of imports. That's probably very North American or American in general. But at some point or another, I would also scratch my head if all of my team was not North American, and we're dangerously close to that. We basically like Blab. I don't think Blabber is getting removed from C9, but if he did, I wouldn't be super shocked.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked to see him be replaced by a extremely expensive international jungler and have C9 still not make it out of groups. Like I've seen it so many times at this point that I don't even care. Yeah. Anyways, going back to PSG, a little bit of a brighter spot. I also noticed that PSG had a ton of close games, and guess what the jungle matchup was? They played Udyr 4
They
times in
did.
a row
Yeah, they
against
played Udyr.
Morgana, and I just think like I don't know, man. Someone's got to do something about Udyr. Like he's making these teams that he's making junglers that are definitely not as good as the enemy jungler look better. It's like I wonder if Canyon had Udyr for 5 games in a row, if they just like win the series, right? I just wonder, and I like to think about that. I wonder if PHE Talon never got Udyr or if El Yoya never got Udyr, how
That's a
those
good
games
point.
would have looked.
Yeah.
And I think this is disgusting champion. I just wanted a little segue there. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think you're right. I do want to point out really what I thought was most impressive about PSG was game 2, right? They lost game 1. Game 2, they came in and they just took the Rift by storm. I mean, they were set up, I think for like a 22, like Fall One accordingly, it was set up for like a 22-minute Dragon Soul. Like they were on the map, moving. They were like, all right, we didn't beat you fast enough last game. We're going to speed it up even more. And they were able to do that. It's like they adjusted. They said, look, okay, we were a little slow. We need to get faster. And they did that. And I thought that was a pretty awesome, like game 1 to game 2 turnaround. And I mean, again, credit to RNG for then adjusting and counteracting that and then playing out the rest of the series. But I thought that was really cool of, PSG to do that. And again, just seeing some of the versatility there. I mean, Doggo obviously popped off in that game, but they all played their strategy, kind of their chess move to perfection. They executed properly. And that's one thing I want to see. Like if we're kind of talking about this NA thing again and like imports and how it's going to get better. Like I mentioned this last week, but I feel like Eastern teams just have a better understanding of like their decision making and like how they're going to execute on certain scenarios. And I think if there was some kind of simulator that we could do with Summoner's Rift, kind of like practice tool, but set it up to where, these turrets are down and this is happening, and like kind of mimic a certain scenario and get good at these like types of decision makings, then I honestly think that would be good for us. I don't think that's possible, but I just feel like Eastern teams know what to do no matter what the situation. That's why sometimes you look at RNG, they're down a bazillion gold and you're like, they're still not out because they're in their heads. They're like, oh, okay, so we're losing here. Okay, we got to do this, and then next thing you know, they're here. But I don't know, man. I don't think imports are gonna fix anything. They might provide insight, but I think we just honestly need to learn better, decisions in the middle late game. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Just yeah, I mean, I guess I think it's also like, so maybe we need that, but the Eastern teams don't need those sort of simulations, right?
They don't.
That's because they have higher quality scrims and they have higher quality opponents and matches, and like they just have
It's
smarter
just like
people.
it's like one of those things
Yeah.
where they, like for example, like let's take this. Just this is a way back dumbed down example, but the insect Lee Sin, right? When we first saw that, oh snap, that's crazy. But now, a bunch of people can do it. But when we first saw it, it was crazy. I feel like because the competition is so high in those regions that like this is not new for them. Like, obviously they're playing against us all the time. So they know what to do in these situations because they face them on a week to week basis when they're playing in their regional tournaments. We don't come across that. We don't get challenged like that and have to come across these types of scenarios. Whereas they're so used to it. It's like, oh, we know exactly what to do. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Of course, and like that is like where it is, because like the bottom teams are so far below like the quality that we need, right? Like
Yep.
the bottom teams in China, they're gonna win
Good. Yeah,
LCS.
exactly.
They're
Yeah.
gonna win LCS.
Yeah.
Without breaking a sweat, the bottom teams in like EU too, and like in Korea, like they'll take, like in Korea, they'll take a game off Damwon randomly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Damwon had a bunch of 2-1 wins. I Also, there's a lot of turnover in all the regions, right? G2 just recently like fell down, right? But there was always a ton of turnover in like the third, fourth spots where G2 would
Mm-hmm.
like lose a bit best of 5 or go to game 5 and almost lose and barely eke it out against Rogue and Mad Lions and Fnatic, and it's like NA, it's always C9 TLTSM,
Yep.
right? In Korea, it was just recently Danwon. Before it was SKT.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of switching around. In
Griffin.
China, yeah, Griffin. In China, there's literally a new team every
Yeah.
freaking year.
Yeah.
It's because the region is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they have good players, and their players are just smarter. The coaches are smarter. The region is smarter. Our region's really dumb, man. Like, if our worst team
Yeah.
is like Golden Guardians with like 3 collegiate players,
Mm-hmm.
Niles is your top lane competition at the bottom. It's like you're in a bad spot, man. You're in a bad
They also
spot
have
for
the
your
drive.
region.
That's
Yeah.
the
They
thing.
have
They
drive.
have the drive
Nice.
to win. They have the drive to be better. They have the drive to improve. Half our players don't even play solo queue.
Yep.
Mhm.
We've talked. Yep. We've talked about that. Yep.
We actually sent our best players who do play solo queue, right? A lot of the Cloud9 players play a ton of
Yeah.
solo queue.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't enough, right? Because you don't have the other pro players playing solo queue that are pushing them to the limit.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we had C9 versus TL in the finals and it was really close and really intense, right? Those are our 2 best teams by far. It's pretty sad how things turned out, that we got pushed to the absolute brink of competition and we did not make it to top 4 when we
Mm-hmm.
absolutely should have. 100%. We should have made it to top 4.
I agree.
But we didn't. And you know what? When I saw how PSG Talon and how Mad Lions played in semifinals, I'm kind of glad we didn't. Like, I'm
Yeah.
really glad we didn't make
Oh, I
it.
completely agree.
We didn't
We would
deserve
have
it.
gotten 3-0 destroyed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
We didn't really touch on Mad Lions, and I would like to touch on Mad Lions because
Fine. I mean, I was trying to avoid them. You know me. I don't like to talk about map. Go ahead. We'll give EU some love. I'm just kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
They had their own little mini meta, I thought, which was interesting. They were
Yeah.
playing a lot of Gnar in their series, which we didn't actually see that much of in the other series, which I thought was interesting. Gnar is definitely one of those champions that like, if you're good enough to punish the early laning phase, it's a really bad champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you can if the Gnar can get to scale and is in a handful of different matchups, like he's really strong. And I don't know. There are people like LS and there are other analysts who are LS followers who think Gnar is a super trash champion. And it's funny to think like how like Kai'Sa was in that same boat, you know, but Kai'Sa was super dominant. But there's these little pocket metas where it's just like there's just 4 games of Gnar in this one Mad Lions versus Dan1 series, and I just thought it was super interesting because it didn't show up at all in the finals.
Yeah. I mean, Nar did lose every game though,
Yeah.
in that
Okay.
series. So it's I mean, that might be a reason,
Played it
but
once in the finals, I think.
it might have been once.
I always remember Xiahu playing Gnar at least
Yeah.
once.
Oh, we lost somebody.
Oh,
Alistair left the podcast. Just
He's
kidding.
back. He hates
heard,
Gnar that much.
Gnar, he's like,
He heard Nar and he's like, I'm out of here.
Gnar was not picked or was not picked. It was banned a couple
It was
times,
banned,
twice,
okay.
but it wasn't picked at all in finals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
always banned second rotation
Game
too.
3,
So.
wasn't it?
No. Oh, it was game 3. I'm stupid. Yeah, I thought that was banned. Yeah, okay.
I
It was
just
played by
remember
game
watching
3
it
and it won.
recently.
Mhm.
Yeah. RNG won with
But
it.
it was only once out of 5 times instead of 4 times out of 5.
Yeah.
Very
And it
different.
won. It won. So,
True.
Yeah, it did win.
Yeah.
I think Mad Lions brought the early game, not early game, but like a very aggressive meta to its logical conclusion. Like a lot, it was the most extreme version of that. Like them and PSG both were pushing the pace, and like it looked like Mad Lions was the kind of team like they just like shot everything they had, and then like they would run out of steam if you didn't like collapse by then. And it was very impressive that they brought Damonte to game 5, but by game 5, like you could kind of tell like, okay, the bag of tricks are up. Damon's kind of got it down. Like, they were up like 5-1 at some point, and then they just got absolutely red and annihilated. And then they just, I think the gold went from like up 500 gold to like minus 5k in the quickest period of time I've ever seen in my life. Like to compare, RNG did the same like very meme dive in bot lane against PSG, and they stabilized afterwards. That's not a coincidence. Like that's like somehow Mad Lions just didn't know what to do after. Like I didn't think I'd get this far, and then they just lost.
Yeah.
I do think it's very impressive that Mad Lions played exactly the style that they wanted to play, and they challenged Korea. Like this is a very consistent trend. EU like 3rd seed or 2nd seed, like a team that doesn't have the superstars, right? This time it's the 1st seed because it's MSI, but like logically, Mad Lions was like a 4th seed last year at Worlds, and it hasn't changed that much. It's changed 2 roles, and they generally bring the Korean super team to like a game 5 a lot of the time. Fnatic was 2nd seed last year or 3rd seed, and they brought top esports to game 5 as well.
Yeah.
Like I think EU teams. Maybe we shouldn't be talking about the West. Maybe we should talk about NA's problems versus the East, because like as far as I'm concerned, like Beryl and Ghost looked like the NA players or the Western players.
Yeah,
They
right.
looked a lot dumber to me. Like I was like, I have never seen this many ints from a Korean player, like in a series back to back in a long time. They looked absolutely outclassed. They got bailed out by the rest of their team. I think Mad Lions honestly should have won that series with how bad the bot lane was playing.
I was for a hot second I thought they were going to win, but
Game 4, they were up 2-1. Game 4, they were in a lead and they just tossed it away. And I was like, no.
I know.
Or maybe it was game 5. They had a lead in one of those games and absolutely collapsed. I think.
Shocks Omegalol, nice speech, buddy.
Oh my god, Ashley K. Okay, that's the only time that Verizon All Chat or whatever it was called was actually hilarious. The text came up and Shocks' epic speech came up. I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
I must have missed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, saying back to flaming NA. I mean, I don't think it's the West. It's not it's not EU. It's
not EU.
Yeah.
I mean, EU has been competitive for what, like 2 years now, 3 years now.
Yeah, they have been.
I mean, last year one of their teams didn't make play-ins, and ours did. That's all I'm saying. They looked kind of on the ropes last year. Rogue went 1-5, and Mad Lions went 1-4 in play-ins. That's really bad.
Fnatic
at the same time, Fnatic still took out top esports. So
went to
no,
five,
they didn't.
5 games.
They went to game 5. That's not.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you're right.
And then G2
it was close though. They should have taken out. They were up 2-0.
Yeah.
What a worlds that was.
But I don't know. I feel like EU's still been they've at least been competitive. NA, I mean, I guess you could say TL was last year. Because they almost made
3-3, I guess.
Yeah, they didn't lose to Machi.
If they didn't integrate to Machi,
I mean,
I don't know,
PSG
but
made that region look pretty good.
No.
They did, but it's an NA problem. It's not a Western problem.
Well, let's just
Yeah.
say that the top two teams, G2 and Fnatic of EU, have been making noise in international for what seems like quite a while now, whereas the top
Yeah.
teams for us have not been. It just
We make like one game noise and then we lose
Yes,
to like the
one-
bottom
you're
seed,
right.
and we're
It's
just
just-
like
But yeah, here's the thing though. It's not just G2 and Fnatic. Remember Splice actually looked really, really close against SKT
Yes,
in
sir.
2018.
Mhm.
And then Mad Lions this year looked really close against Danwon. It's not just G2 and Fnatic anymore. We can't say that because
Yeah.
genuinely they have other good European teams that come out and actually make a splash. They make it out of groups and they look close against teams that are on paper just should be straight up better.
Yeah.
I agree, but at the same time, last year we'll go back to it. Mad Lions didn't make it out of play-ins, and RNG finished 4th in their group.
Yeah.
You mean Rogue? Yeah.
Rogue.
Yeah,
Rogue.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true.
G2 and Fnatic both made it out, so I agree.
Yeah.
It's not just TL and
But a
G2
majority.
and Fnatic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but primarily.
Yeah. But I'm just comparing it to NA when we have
Yeah,
0
you're right.
competitors
We
like
can.
multiple years in a row.
There's nothing in it.
Yeah.
I know
Like
exactly what you're
uh,
Mad Lions made out of Rumble, and then,
Yeah.
Splice made out of groups.
Yeah.
NA, zero groups,
Nothing.
teams out of
Zero.
groups multiple
Yes.
years in a row. So,
Yes. I think
Yeah,
we're
NA
all. I
NA
think.
flashes for Scuttle Crab.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I think we're all in agreement that unfortunately, I think EU is the better of the Western teams.
By far.
NA isn't being considered to be put as a minor region. That's all that has.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Sorry, EU isn't. NA is.
Yeah.
That's all that needs to be said about that.
But anyways, let's go to our just recap of our predictions because I think honestly, as NA fans, we could flame NA all day. That is what we can do. But prediction recap real quickly last week. So the final total, Kevin actually won the thing with 6 correct points or 6 points. So I didn't see the series MVP for either of the semifinals. I don't know if one was picked. I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it either.
Okay, so
No.
I didn't count any points with that. But in the last one, we did get Gala as MVP, and Kevin correctly predicted that. I came in second with 5 points. And then Mitchell and Alistair, you guys both tied at with 3 correct points.
Hey.
Not
Imagine
bad.
timing Me when I threw away my finals prediction.
You did throw it away, predicting. This is how troll Alistair was. 3-2 in favor of Damwon, which actually, no, I'm sorry, no, you did not. Wait, did you? Yes, you
No,
did
I
do
chose
3-2. Yeah, you did 3-2.
I did 3-2 Dam1 because
Yep.
I'm tired of us all picking the same thing for the
Exactly.
entire tournament.
Yeah. So thanks for that.
I mean, when you're right the entire tournament, what can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's boring.
It's
Yeah,
boring.
it's
We're supposed to be
Hey, look,
entertaining.
for those listening right now, as Summer Split starts, we're going to be doing fan predictions again, listener predictions. So be sure to we're going to do it a little bit differently this time, but a bigger prize. So it's going to be cool. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, that was our little predictions for the MSI semifinals and finals. Quick bit of news from the LCS is that Damonte has announced that he will not be playing in the summer split. Kind of, I mean, because Abidage got signed to 100 Thieves and Ryoma's back on Academy, I guess that makes sense. I think he's good enough to be on another team. I guess maybe there's just no either salary or people under contract. So for whatever reason, he's not playing. Probably going to focus more on content creation. A little bit sad, but RIP Damonte. Any thoughts on that move?
It's kind of tragic considering how 100 Thieves went out, the whole Ryoma Damonte situation, because, maybe there's a world where Damonte plays like 2% better, he stays on the roster, maybe they beat TSM, they make it third, and he stays on the roster. They never decided to buy Abendage, and I think it's really tragic how it feels like maybe 1 or 2 mistakes defined his entire 2021, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe he played a little bit better on Oriana and Syndra. He's still on the roster. He's still on the team, and they, they do all these things, and he doesn't. But now he's just straight up out of a job. And
I
it's like,
know.
well, should have practiced a bit more Oriana, maybe. Yeah, I think it's sad.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the reason he's not on the team is probably just because mid-season is very hard to change
Yeah.
out your starting mid
Mhm.
laner
Mhm.
contracts, all that. He might be definitely. There probably are teams interested in him, especially if they want to import elsewhere. He's more than serviceable as an NA mid. but it's just not worth the buyout or the the breaking contract stuff. So he'll probably get a team come whenever the next cycle of contracts are up, which is as soon as next breed split. I think he's gonna be fine. He'll be around. It'll be interesting unless he wants to do content. The problem is a lot of great NA talent is better at entertaining than trying to grind
For
it out.
fun region.
And get the. Yeah, I mean we have some of the best entertainers. That's why our casters are so good.
Yeah.
But,
It's true.
and we have some of the biggest streamers. To be fair, I just don't watch European streams, so maybe they also have some big ones. But there's like what TF Blade and like some others.
TF Blade's NA.
He's NA.
He's NA.
Well, he's
Yeah,
Canadian.
NA this whole time. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
really?
I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but I think the biggest EU streamer is probably Reckless.
Or the Bouse. It's one of the
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
Dallas,
no,
yeah.
definitely the
The
Bouse. I
Bouse.
forgot.
Yeah.
Nemesis has been streaming, but
That
he's
explains so
he's in
much
Korea
about
though,
his
so
Yeah, Nemesis
personality.
is basically a Korean streamer.
Yeah.
But it's probably the Bouse. Or Yankos. Yankos is really up there.
Yankos, he
He's
streams a lot
Not
too.
as big,
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Well,
I-
anyways, yeah, we have great entertainers. We're winning somewhere. Okay, we're still winning, right? They're winning, and they're streaming on the League of Legends category. I win. GG.
Yes.
Yep.
Make ourselves feel good.
There's no trophy for it, but sure, man.
Yeah.
Hey, PewDiePie got the Domino's Pizza Streamer of the Year. So
Yes.
Hey, let's
There's
go.
some kind of irony for streamer of the year being sponsored by Domino's. I'm not gonna comment any more than that. Fair.
Alistair, you got any thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm that surprised. I mean, especially with how fan-driven North America is, and the how do I put this? The way people think of Damonte.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's been flamed for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's all people are gonna think of when they see him, and I can completely understand not wanting to play.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because I think he's good, and I do agree he probably will get another team because he has the very special what's the word?
Protected NA resident status.
Yeah,
He's a protected
and
endangered
as a mid laner
species.
though. As a mid laner,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
important part.
As a mid laner,
Because
that's
there
true.
aren't many. We've
Yeah.
got
Yep.
let's see, we got Golden Glue who he's coaching now, so he's out.
He's coaching.
We got
have
Pobelter.
Pope.
And Damonte.
Yep. We.
I guess
Olive
Ryoma, because
technically, if he's
Ryoma's
still starting,
first,
is Blaze
but-
Olive still starting from mid?
I'm
yeah.
not
Oh,
actually
I mean,
sure.
Blaze Olive and
Blaze Olive.
Insanity.
Yeah, Insanity. Yeah. There's a couple of them, but none of them have really like. None of them you would say is like this is who I want to put my hopes and dreams on when I go to international, right?
Yeah.
Palafox.
Palafox.
Oh,
Yeah, but that's
Halifax.
That's where 100
Yeah.
Thieves is at, though, right? They're
Mhm.
at that point where it's like we want to go to Worlds. Like we don't want to have a good showing domestically. We want to go to Worlds and get out of groups,
Yeah.
right? And they just don't want Damonte, and I think that's fair. Like he hasn't
agree.
proven himself to be good enough to do that. So,
Yeah.
Well, I still think it's one of those like who severed ties. Who's the one who said you're not playing or I don't want to play?
I
I'm
think
guessing it was probably 100 Thieves.
yes,
Yes,
they got Abadage.
100%. Yeah, it's definitely 100 Thieves.
But
Yeah.
it also it could have also been Damonte saying, "Yeah, I don't want to play,"
Yeah,
and then they went out and got Aberdage.
It's possible. I doubtful,
As
but I
said,
agree.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Probably
a
100
possibility.
Thieves.
yeah.
Yeah.
Been a sub.
It's gotta be 100 Thieves because as soon as someday got his residency, they were like, "Peace, we're getting a mid,
Yeah.
getting a
Oh,
mid
is that
laner."
how it worked? Okay.
That's why they
Yeah.
got Avadage because someday has his residency now. So
Yeah, he's got his green card someday.
Yeah.
I mean, like, wow, we're just going in. I'm just going into this, but someday has just when 100 Thieves needs someday to actually carry and look good and make a top 3 showing and try to make a push to make it to Worlds and get out of groups, he just looks like hot garbage, man. NA is just cursed, dude.
yeah,
I'm so sad that someday, like, just had such a bad split.
Well,
If-
save
if
some of
Aberdage
that-
pops off, it's still someday carrying them. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. That's
Well,
what people will say.
I was gonna say save some of that that energy for next week when we do our preview show because we definitely need to lay it into
True.
to him and definitely what we're gonna see from 100 Thieves coming up. But did you guys have any final thoughts on Damonte, on anything MSI, or just anything league related before we wrap it up?
I blame TSM for
Yes,
for us not
100%.
making out of
Me
Rumble
too.
Stage. Yeah,
And I'm a
blame
TSM fan.
TSM.
Screw those guys.
Anything wrong with NA? I blame TSM.
100 freaking percent.
06 didn't make it out of Rumble Stage. What
06.
the hell? Lost to Pentanet.
Yep. All right.
good.
Well, that sounds great. Next week we're gonna do a preview show for Summer Split because Summer Split is not far away. I gotta look. So they keep their records, right? Is that
Yes.
okay? So
Yes,
the
sir.
standing's still the same. This is it's different now, even though it is Summer Split. Everything still counts. That's why Spring Split mattered. So be sure to come back next week as we talk about all the teams. Remember to join the Discord if you aren't already part of it. And we will be doing some giveaways and stuff, especially starting when the split starts. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at questions@theallinpodcast.gg. Thanks again to Kevin, Mitchell, Alistair. You guys are awesome. Always smarter than me, 100%. But enjoy your climb on the Rift, guys. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.